Okay, I think it's going. All right. So the cinnamon rolls. So the cinnamon roll is house made by Miss Sierra. So it has dairy, gluten, and egg. So as we go through all of the allergen guides, um, you don't necessarily have to memorize them completely, but just understand um that those will pop up on the actual written menu. So let me show you what that other menu looks like. So can everyone see like the menu that's on the screen now? So these little allergen guides on the side will have a little key down at every bottom of the menu. And so you'll kind of be able to see that the blue crab cakes, for example, I know that's on the gender menu, but it has dairy, L, which is shellfish, and then E, which is egg. So the members can see that. And then if it's an optional function, the star that's brown will be for gluten-free, and then the green B will be for vegan optional. So the gluten optional and vegan optional. So that's where our knowledge comes into play of what we know that we can substitute. And as we start working with Hannah on this new menu, then we'll have a better idea of what that's supposed to look like. All right. Okay, so back to the cinnamon roll. So it is an 8-ounce appetizer, so probably about this big. It would be great for like a child wanting to have something sweet for breakfast. But Miss Michaela in the morning did pretty good with selling that cinnamon roll as like an appetizer. It has the espresso pecan frosting on there, so that's where that one also has nuts included. But if they wanted to omit the frosting, then that would be nut friendly, as well. The mango berry smoothie, it does have oat milk in there as its default milk. Um, and then raspberries, blackberries, and strawberries and mango will all come prepackaged together. Then they add the banana. So all of the fruits, it's kind of like an all-in situation, but the banana can be taken out. Last year, again, Miss Michaela would add peanut butter to that, so that's an easy upsell. And then the Solgar whey protein, which is a dairy-based protein, can be added to that, or it can be omitted. So if a child wants to order that protein smoothie, maybe it's a good idea to ask the parent if they want to remove the protein or keep it in. All right. So those pancakes, so there's two pancakes. They're about like yay big. They're stacked on top of each other. They have a vanilla almond oat crumble. That crumble is most similar to kind of like a granola. So oats, almonds are tossed and buttered, and then they're browned. They're kind of put on top for a nice crunch, and then served with the European butter and the Vermont maple syrup on the side. European butter is very traditional butter. It just has a higher fat content. So it's just a little bit easier spreadable. It's pretty traditional though. All right. As we were kind of talking the other day in training, we had mentioned too that we avoid the word kind of as regular. So instead of like regular pancakes or traditional or their classic pancakes, just to try to elevate that a little bit. It doesn't seem as boring or like you can get this anywhere kind of thing. All right, so this avocado toast has a thick sourdough base that's toasted, and then they're gonna take the avocado and then they're gonna like mash it and spread it on top of the toast. Then the arugula, tomatoes, and balsamic will have be kind of like a salad that's on top of the sourdough, and then two eggs, any style, will lay on top of that salad. When it says vegan optional, we'll just remove the eggs. I do need to double check if the bread has any byproduct in there, but like butter added to it. But it shouldn't. So we should be good there. Um, Perfect. This PC breakfast is probably one of the most popular selling items. So two cage-free eggs or whites. Those are cooked any style. To go over how those eggs could be cooked, again, it would be like fried, which is like on both sides with the yellow yolk broken, or it could be sunny side up, which could be over easy, over medium, or over hard. And then we could even do poached as well. We do have the ability to do hard boiled, but that would just take a little bit longer. And then they could do whites as a scramble, most likely. And then the Nooski bacon, porkling sausage, and turkey sausage patty. So Nooski bacon is going to be what's called our $1 million bacon. So that was a highly acclaimed piece of bacon, known for its lean and flavorful, award-winning taste, and its applewood flavor. We work closely with a farm to get those. So then the porkling sausage and turkey sausage patty. So those are two different. So the link sausage comes as actual like links, and then sausage patty is like a patty. So. And then you have potatoes and the choice of toast. And then we've listed the toast down below, but the only change from this year's toast versus last year's toast selections that we no longer have white. It's just going to be sourdough as that substitution. But no one seemed to say anything about it now, so we should be okay. And then those potatoes will be on the side, and they're going to be kind of like a mixed hash almost. Like we've got those country style potatoes, those Yukons, and then it's mixed with bell peppers and onions. Perfect. The Mediterranean omelet, so its default is having 2 egg whites. And then it's gonna have turkey sausage, spinach, roasted red peppers, tomatoes, feta, and then potatoes and toast on the side. So that omelet, we can modify that a little bit. We can add like whole eggs to that. You can remove the spinach, you can add things. So anything that the member wants to do to modify that, we can totally make it happen. If someone wants to order an omelet and they say, I want to build my own omelet, let's just ring it in as the Mediterranean, and then we can kind of type just whatever, 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 and then you don't have to do the Mediterranean. So they don't have to stick to that item at all. If they wanted to substitute the protein, they could do that at no upcharge. A lot of times we have members that will add extra eggs as well. So it does have 2 eggs in there, but if a member wanted to do 3 eggs or 4 eggs, we could definitely do that. We just upcharge them for the eggs. But they don't need to know that. We don't need to say that's going to be an upcharge. The members don't really care about that as much as like you're just ringing it in correctly. All right, and then you can add a cheese to that too. There's no cheese on top right now, but you can add yellow cheddar, Swiss, or pepper jack. Our eggs Benedict is going to be pretty traditional. So you've got 2 English muffin halves, and then you're going to have a poached egg on each one. And then the hollandaise will cover that. To put as a protein with that, you can choose birria beef, Canadian bacon, or tomato Florentine. So our birria beef is 6-hour braised beef that is stewed with chilies and spices. It's kind of like this sweet, savory protein that Hannah let us try the other day. It's pretty good, and it is shredded. And then Canadian bacon, it's not going to be like that thick cut slab bacon. It's more going to be that like thicker deli ham almost, but that'll be awesome on there. And then the tomato Florentine, that's what it's called. It's the spinach plus tomato version of the eggs Benedict. So just no meat on that one. Cool. All right. Huevos rancheros. So if anybody hasn't seen what those look like, it's gonna be just a massive stack of tortilla chips. In this instance, it's corn, and then it's almost like breakfast nachos. So you've got that birria beef on top, which they could substitute for a different protein if they wanted. And then you've got anasazi beans, which are sweet, mild heirlooms, legumes. So very like white, mild bean, and it's very creamy. And then you've got pico, cojita cheese, and cilantro on top, and then the salsas on the side, and the avocado is like presented as slices on the side of the plate as well. And then 2 eggs any style, but Hannah recommends over medium for that set. And then, yeah. Okay. I wanted to mention, so the salsa roja is not spicy. It's kind of like mild, but like there's a little bit of chipotle essence to it, but for the most part it's like pretty approachable. It's not going to burn anyone's mouth, but we do have like Tabasco, green and red, and then Cholula, if they want to dip it or add it to it. The breakfast burrito is another super popular choice. So you've got Nooski bacon, turkey sausage patty, pork link sausage, or pork chorizo that you can add to that. So chorizo, for anybody that doesn't know, is in this instance pork. It's like ground pork, but it has a nice like oiliness to it that'll like pair pretty well with like the eggs and kind of like the heaviness of the burrito. And then it has green chilies that are not very spicy. They're just for like kind of that flavor and texture. And then avocado spread, and then cojita inside, pico, and then salsas will be on the side, and then the beans inside. Oh, I lied to you. The beans are served on the side. So it's that traditional burrito pea or like just like normal on the inside, and then they're adding the beans on as a side. Cool. An egg sandwich. So that's gonna be served on a brioche bun. It has an avocado spread on one side and an herb aioli on the other. And then it's gonna have cheddar cheese, tomato, and caramelized onions on the inside. Um, they're gonna put the protein on the inside of it, which could be again the bacon or the sausage. And they put the potatoes on the side, and then the bell peppers and onions will be in those peppers or in the potatoes. I'm excited for that one. I think that'll be fun. All right, so our breakfast sides are all $6 except for berries and toast. So you've got 2 eggs, you've got bacon or your proteins listed. For your French fries, we can put a few different seasonings on them. So we could do regular French fries, ranch French fries, which is just a Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning on top, or Parmesan fries, where we do a little bit of Parmesan and herbs. Those two, the ranch and the Parmesan, will be off menu, but we'll just modify that. With Hannah or on the ticket with the kitchen, and they'll be happy to do that. And then we've got onion rings, a half of an avocado, guacamole if they want to do that. And then we've got side salad, kale jicama slaw, and then fruit. So this fruit is most often like melons, so honeydew, cantaloupe, pineapple, and then they'll add a few grapes and berries to that. So it is mostly melon based. And then if they want to do just berries, then that's like blackberries, strawberries, blueberries, kind of whatever the kitchen has on hand. And then your sides of toast too, which are listed down below. We get ours toast, or we get our bread shipped in every 2 or 3 days from Wildflower Bread Company here in Flagstaff. So we're supporting them, and that's been a good partnership so far. To talk about the side salad and jicama slaw, that'll be within the lunch menu too, so we'll go over that. Okay. All right, so getting into the more lunch items, we've got featured soups. So Hannah's gonna get that finalized soup menu to me pretty soon, and then I'll text it to everyone. That'll change weekly, but like every Monday will be one soup, every Tuesday will be another. So every Friday we do have the New England clam chowder. And New England clam chowder is going to be a cream-based soup. Oh my gosh. WER. It's going to be cream based with a mirepoix. Um, and a mirepoix is like potatoes, carrots, and celery and onions. And then in this instance too, there is bacon in that clam chowder. So every Friday we already know that that's what that's going to be. And then every rotation will just be in the service station under the expo boards. So for the other days, but I'll text it to you too. So we've got a cup and a bowl of that. A really easy upsell if you're just at least asking, can I get you a cup or a bowl? Corey, especially in the men's grill, they'll already have cups, but if they want extras, then we have bowls in the men's grill too. Same sizes with the chili, so you could do a cup or a bowl of the chili. It's gonna have ground bison and ground pork, and then cubed or diced smoked brisket. That brisket is braised for like 6 hours, just like that birria beef is. And then it's gonna have black pinto and kidney beans in there. They're gonna add a little bit of that Jalisco beer to it, simmer that down. And then on top, you've got scallions and then cheddar cornbread casserole on top. So for my new friends and my old friends, this is a new presentation of the chili. So if you have members that ask what the cornbread casserole is, we bake mini cornbreads in the muffin tins. And then they bake them off. They'll slice them and put them on top. They're really good. Miss Sierra makes those in-house too. They're sweet and savory. You can omit the toppings, and then you could either do onions or cheddar if you wanted to add those too. In the men's grill, Corey, it'll just be the Fritos instead of the casserole. But if they wanted the casserole, then we can definitely bring some over, start like since we have it all day. All right. We've got our free range chicken wings as well. So there's 8 wings. It's going to be a mix of flats and drums in there. They can do mostly flats or mostly drums, but we can't confirm that all of them will be the same number. But it couldn't be like all 8 just because they're pre-portioned already. So if we give someone like all of the drums, then the next person gets all of the flats, and so we can do mostly. Is what I'm trying to say. They can do buffalo, barbecue, honey hot, or lemon pepper dry rub. We had a good question the other day. All wings will come sauce, but we could do the sauce on the side. But so if like someone asked Vinny, they're like, Vinny, can I do 4 buffalo and 4 barbecue? Then unfortunately we won't be able to toss those like that unless they really like, unless it's like a big deal. So in the instance that they want multiple sauces, we'll just put the sauce on the side and then they can dip. And then we'll serve it with celery, carrots, and ranch and blue cheese. Awesome. And then it is a gluten cross-contamination with that one too. So oftentimes we'll get members that'll say, I'm gluten-free, can I have these? And then you're just going to clarify that the wings traditionally are gluten-free. However, there could be cross-contamination with the fryer oil. Sometimes that's okay with members. So if you're at least explaining that and they say, oh, it's okay, that's fine, then you're good to kind of proceed with that. And then the dairy is from the dipping sauces, so we can always just omit the dairy on those. All right, your queso skillet dip is going to be, where are my chips? Okay, served with flour and corn chips. So those are 2 different types of chips. So you've got one that's flour, it looks a bit fluffier, and then one that's yellow corn chips. And those are served on the side of the dip, which is Oaxaca and Cojita queso. So that queso is nice and melty. It's served in a cast iron, and then the chilies and the pickled onions, and then the chicos will sit on top as garnish. Chicos are going to be freeze-dried sweet corn. So they add like a nice texture, but it's not too overpowering. It's sweet corn, and it's been pretty good too. And then adding on as an upcharge, you could do chicken, birria beef on that. And I believe it just sits like in the queso as a part of that garnish as well. But Hannah may adjust that by putting it on the side. I'm not completely sure, but for right now, it's in it. And then roasted chilies on the side of those. Perfect. You can sub for all one type of chip if needed. So if someone wanted to be gluten-free, then we just take away the flour tortillas altogether, and then they'll just do double corn chips. Oh, am I going too fast or is it fine? Good. All right. So we're on to our salads. So they come in 2 sizes now. So we'll have a starter size, and then an entree size. For your first salad, it's an ensalada diosa. So it's a goddess salad. It's going to have a base of romaine, and then throughout that, you're going to have cucumbers, radish, tomatoes, pickled onion, jicama, queso fresco, pepitas, and then chicos and corn tortilla frizzles. To kind of go over a few of those, so jicama, honestly, to me, it's like the vegetable version of a watermelon. It's like white and colorless, but it has a really nice crisp to it. It doesn't have a strong flavor actually at all. So it's a lot of just for texture. And then pepitas are going to be pumpkin seeds. Pretty self-explanatory. And then the tortilla frizzles are tortilla strips, so corn tortilla strips on there. And then the green goddess dressing is a mayo-based dressing with cilantro, garlic, parsley, and citrus. So if we will get members that'll say, we just want to split an entree size. Well, the entree size is the starter size. So exactly half of the entree is the starter. So if you are a server or a bartender and you get that question, you're just going to ring in 2 starter sizes with the appropriate seat numbers. If someone wanted to split a starter size and really just have like 4 pieces of lettuce each, they could do that. It's just gonna, I'm not sure what the presentation exactly is on it, but we won't stop them from doing that. All right. And then next is our superfood salad. So that is going to be a spinach and kale based. It's going to be equal parts spinach and then kale and then quinoa. So lettuce and then half lettuce, half quinoa, and then roasted red peppers, feta, avocado slices, sunflower seeds, chickpeas. So it gives me kind of Mediterranean vibes a little bit, especially with that champagne vinaigrette, which is going to be champagne vinegar, olive oil, herbs, lemon, garlic, and shallots. The champagne vinaigrette is going to be our house dressing. So if someone wants to do that side salad, then it's going to come with that unless otherwise specified. All right, the Caesar is a very traditional Caesar salad. So we've got a romaine base with a Parmesan Asiago crisp. So the kitchen will take Parmesan cheese and Asiago and then sprinkle it on to a sheet tray, pop it in the oven, and then when it comes out, they can crack it into like little crisps. So it'll look like lace almost, but just with cheese. And then a focaccia crouton. So Sierra makes focaccia in-house. Focaccia is kind of like a light, airy bread, but it's kind of oily in its essence too. We'll make that for the bread baskets, but she'll turn a few into the croutons. They're pretty good. So this whole salad, I'm just gonna remove this. Perfect. Is one price, and then an easy upsell is to add the anchovies for $3. So there's 4 anchovies for $3. It's just a quick, easy ask. Would you like anchovies on that? They say yes. Okay, perfect. You upsold $3 on that salad. Yeah. If someone doesn't want the anchovies, we don't really, I would hope we don't have to explain too much. But there is Ossia, or not Ossia, there are anchovies in the Caesar dressing, but most of the time that's not too off-putting for some people, but we can always substitute a dressing if they really don't want it. Perfect. All right, and then the Canyon Cobb is next. A Cobb salad. This is really similar with your romaine base, and then it's going to be kind of sectioned everywhere, like little segments of like cucumber, tomato, a hard-boiled egg, avocado slices, blue cheese crumble, and then the lemon herb vinaigrette. The reason why it's gluten-free optional is that our blue cheese is grown on bread. So just like the wings, when we say there could be cross-contamination, we want to say the exact same thing with the blue cheese. Just so you know, our blue cheese mold or our blue cheese is grown on bread. Probably don't tell them that it's mold, but our blue cheese is grown on bread. So there could be cross-contamination, and typically that's okay with them too. And then super easy. Can I put any chicken, shrimp, trout, tenderloin, or tofu on that sandwich or that salad for you? The more often you are to give a suggestion, then the more likely that member is to take you up on it. So for the Cobb, I'd totally recommend doing a tiger shrimp or a grilled chicken breast on that. And that's just a simple, easy ask. If they say yes, then you're good, but you don't need it. All of the dressings are substituted as well. The list of those dressings is on the bottom right here. So we've got Green Goddess, Champagne, Caesar, lemon herb vinaigrette, and then your classics of balsamic, Thousand Island Ranch, and blue cheese. All dressings will come or all salads will come pre-dot or pre-tossed. So if they want it on the side, then we can totally do that too.
Hey, what's up, Corey? I'm still here. I got a beer.
All right. So on to our sandwiches. All of the sandwiches come with a side. We'll learn like the curry and the quesadilla and the tacos do not come with a side. All right, to go over those sandwiches, so we've got our club first. So that club is going to be on a sourdough bread, but they can most definitely substitute that bread if they want for like a brioche or a rye or a wheat as well. But it's gonna have mesquite, smoked turkey, bacon, tomato, lettuce, and then on one side an avocado spread, and on the other an herb aioli. That herb aioli, all aiolis are mayo based, and then they just add a little bit of lemon, garlic, and herbs to that as well. For our club sandwich, it's only 2 pieces of bread. Sometimes, if you go to a restaurant, they'll have 3 slices of bread, like one in the middle. But ours is just 2 pieces of bread. Our crispy chicken sandwich is the one that I'm most excited to look forward to. So that's going to be on a brioche bun. And then they're going to take a chicken cutlet or a chicken breast that's 4 ounces, and then they're going to panko crust it. And then they're going to fry it. And then they're going to have hot honey and buffalo tossed in it. So it's a hot honey buffalo chicken crispy sandwich. And then on top of that is going to be a kale jicama slaw, and then house-made pickles on that. And then the house-made pickles, you don't need to memorize what this brine is, but just know that it's a little bit sweet. It's a little bit spicy, but not overwhelming. And I asked Hannah if I could take a jar of them home because they're so good. All right, our Wagyu beef burger. So Wagyu beef is from West Coast Prime Meats. It's a highly marbled, exceptionally tender and flavorful patty. It's from a Japanese cattle brand, or breed of cow. So it's harder to get for us. It's like an Angus variety. So it kind of lives up to its name a little bit. So that's why it's not a regular burger. It's our classic Wagyu beef burger that's a little bit more upscaled. But that's gonna have a patty on there that's about 6 ounces, and then you're gonna have that melted yellow cheddar on top, and then served with lettuce and tomato and caramelized onion on top. They can substitute the onion for like fresh red onion, or they can omit it altogether. That's an easy upsell item, so add your bacon to that, add your mushrooms or grilled onions. I guess it's already comes with onions, but we could also do hatch green chilies on there, just like we do for breakfast. So whatever you can think of it, it's good to kind of build that. I think we had one server last year that made like a $26 upsold burger, and that just helps because you're just asking if they want eggs or anything on it. All right. The Reuben sandwich. So you've got a marble rye base, and then you've got pastrami, and then Gruyere, which is like Swiss cheese, sauerkraut, grainy mustard, and Thousand Island. So a really like, if anybody's eaten a Reuben sandwich, that is just like what the description is. All right, so all of those sandwiches that I just read will be whole sandwiches, so you can't necessarily, can I only do half a sandwich? Unfortunately, it's just a full sandwich, but we'll be happy to give them a takeaway box, or they can split it if they want. And then those are the same sides that we talked about for the brunch menu too. All right, the Thai Penang curry will be replacing our teriyaki bowl. So we don't have the teriyaki bowl anymore, but instead it'll be this. So it's the base of jasmine rice and then stir-fried vegetables on top, which are more often than not going to be onion, bell pepper, mushroom, and sugar snap peas. And then it's going to be turned into kind of a curry. So you've got a Penang curry paste, and then kaffir lime leaves, Thai basil, cilantro, and then coconut milk fish sauce. They kind of make that Lux sauce to there. Pour it on top of the jasmine rice, and we'll see how that goes. I think it sounds pretty good, but. And then I am assuming just with the vegetables we have now, so if someone's upset that we don't have the teriyaki bowl, but we still have teriyaki sauce, and it seems like we have the vegetables and the rice already, so we could necessarily make that happen. We would probably just do the jasmine rice like unsauced on the base of the bowl, the stir-fried vegetables on top, and then we'd have the teriyaki sauce with it. So if someone's like super lost at like they really wanted that, then we can probably make it happen for them. All right. Almost done with our brunch menu. We've just got a few more items left. So the birria quesadilla is going to be served on a 12-inch flour tortilla. The only way to make this gluten-free is to do the street corn style. So it'll be a little bit different in presentation, but I'm sure we can make it happen. Oaxaca cheese and cojita on the inside, as well as the onions and jalapenos, and then the pico and beans will be served on the side. No additional side for these, but just because the side's not included doesn't mean you shouldn't ask for the side. So always go ahead and try to upsell for that birria quesadilla, doing the kale jicama slaw on the side or some French fries or something to put with that. All right, and then we've got our Tres Baja street tacos. So that does mean 3 tacos. They're gonna have yellow corn tortillas, and then on the inside is gonna be 2 ounces of protein in each taco. So 2 ounces of beer battered halibut with the Jalisco Mexican lager. So we'll beer batter this in-house. So 2 ounces of those, which is kind of like one like chunky piece in each taco, and then a cilantro crema, which is probably sour cream, cilantro, lime, and then pico on the side. Or actually that one could be on top. As Hannah plays with the presentation of everything, we'll get a better understanding of what we need to say is on the side. But when in doubt, if Miss Tice ever has a table that's like, I do not want pico on there, then she's gonna save her booty and just make sure that she modifies and says pico on side, and then we're covered everywhere. All right. Okay, so we have finished the brunch menu. Any questions on that as we kind of like sped past that a little bit? Okay, we'll start the bar menu, and if there's any questions, just throw them into the chat. So our bar menu, and Miss Page helped me clear this up the other day too. So it's not necessarily, you don't have to eat at the bar or like be in a specific location or be served by the bar. It's just our intermittent menu. So it's our menu that's served from 3 to close. But it's got a little bit more of your casual options on there, but it's served from 3 to close every day. So Mondays and Tuesdays it'll be 3 to 5, and then Wednesday to Sunday probably till like 9. But in there, that's just what that bar menu means. You can have it at any time during that. And then there's always kind of we can always make accommodations. So if someone's like at 3:05, then we're definitely going to ask to see if they can sit down with the brunch menu. If we're kind of in that in-between stage, we always want to let the members know that we're at least going and we're asking, and we're keeping them in mind too. Okay, so on this bar menu, chili and the queso dip and the wings we've talked about. So those just repeat so they can have them for dinner. On the bar menu is our halibut bites. The halibut bites are probably one of the most popular items in Pine Canyon history. They started in like 2004 with them. We tried to pull them off the menu last year, and that wasn't well received, so we had to put them back on the menu. So it's going to be 6 ounces of beer battered halibut. There's about 4 to 6 pieces of them based on weight. That's going to be served with a lemon Thai chili aioli and a sweet Thai chili sauce. So this aioli is a dipping sauce. Oh, word. There. It's a dipping sauce. And then the sweet chili sauce is kind of like a glaze on top. And then if any members request, we still have the old sweet chili sauce. We moved away from it too because it's like this prepackaged bottled sauce. So if you ever get that question, just know, let me go check in the back, and we keep a few bottles of it. So if you do have a table of maybe 5 or 6 plus, you always want to recommend 2, because what if your table of 5 ends up with 4 halibut bites and then no one person doesn't get one? They are kind of smaller, so just definitely ask, can I get you 2 orders of those? All right. The Wagyu slider trio. So it's going to be 3 Hawaiian rolls that are opened up, and they've got some small patties on them. They're about 3 2-ounce patties. We don't need to ask for a temperature on these because they're 2 ounces. So chef's going to cook them to about a medium. But if someone wants them well done, then we can modify that. And if someone wants like rare or medium rare, we can always mark it, but we want to let them know, since the patties are a little bit smaller, I'll have the kitchen do their best, and we can always kind of adjust. But it's gonna have cheddar cheese, Newski bacon, tomato, lettuce, and a chipotle aioli. This chipotle aioli does give me vibes of like a Thousand Island, but it's a little bit, it's like Chipotle, but it has that same like creaminess, and then with the pickles too, it has a nice acidity. That does not come with the side, so that's also an easy upsell. So for the slider trio, go ahead and ask them if they want onion rings or French fries or whatever with that. Cool. The ranch platter reminds me of like kind of like a burly charcuterie board. So it's gonna have like all of the proteins and then some like olives and mostarda as well. So think of it as like a bulky charcuterie board. Um, the main items on there is the pork rillettes. So pork rillettes are cold shredded pork that's cooked in their own fat. The idea of that, it's like super luxe, it's rich, but it still gives like kind of like that homey vibe to it. And then we partnered with a butcher shop down in Phoenix, and they're called Shriners. And then we are using them for their sausages and their old world meats. That could be a rotating selection. So just like normal for like where we look on the soup where the expo whiteboard is, then we can see daily on there. So as you clock in each shift, just write down what those old world meats are. It's a little bit easier to sell table side. Of course, the members can read everything. If you say our local old world meat selection from Shriners is XYZ today, kind of dive in on that a little bit more. And then house pickles. The cheese pate is a cheese log. It just sounds better if we say cheese pate. It's gonna be a soft white cheese that's kind of made into a log and then kind of trimmed and cut. Sea salt, honey, and then cheddar. I think it's a sea salt honey cheddar, now that I say it out loud. So that's all one item. Mostarda, which is a dried fruit paste cooked with mustard powder, sugar, and vinegar. And then AZ orange and cured green olives. So kind of that bulky charcuterie, as we said. Cool. We've talked about the Caesar and the beer quesadilla. So this Caesar, again, since it's on the bar menu, we can do it as a starter size or an entree size. The tacos, crispy chicken, burger, Reuben. Okay, so the only new items on that menu are going to be the halibut bites, the ranch platter, and the Wagyu slider trio. So I know like three menus sometimes seems overwhelming, but this isn't really considered that just because it's three items. Any questions on those three items though? Cool. All right. Okay, so for dinner, so we serve dinner in the summertime starting the 16th, 5 p.m. to close Wednesday through Sunday. So we'll end up taking reservations till about 8:30, so whatever time that 8:30 reservation leaves. Most of the time the kitchen will close at 9, but again, if it's 9:30, 9:15, we always just go to the back of the kitchen. Hey, Chef Hannah, can we do a four top for takeaway? And most often, more likely than not, she'll say okay. But just double check with her because we could be 86 of something or whatnot. All right. So just like normal for our small plates, we've got soup and chili, just like traditional. And then now we've got a blue crab cake. So it's going to be two crab cakes per order. So it's going to have blue lump crab, mayo, lemon, egg, and then crushed blue corn tortillas. Pull one up just so. And then they honestly just, it's pretty self-explanatory. Can everyone see the crab cake on my desktop? Okay. So those are what those look like. Some of them are a little bit more like plump, but Hannah's do look a little bit more like compacted, just like that. So it's gonna be griddled though. So she takes it and she makes that breading. She puts it on top and then she puts it on the flat top, gets a good sear on both sides. She puts the kale jicama salt on the bottom of the plate, those two crab cakes, and then the lemon AZ aioli. I feel like for a table of three, we could get by with just one order, but for tables of four or more, you definitely probably want to try to push more than one. It's going to be about 3 ounces per crab cake, 3 to 4 ounces. So just keep that in mind. There is shellfish in there, of course, because that's what crab is. So just make sure we're understanding their allergens. It's not just a fish allergy, it's a shellfish allergy. Those halibut bites are back. All right, the whipped goat cheese. I don't know exactly how this one's gonna be presented, so bear with me a little bit. But you've got the whipped goat cheese probably in the middle of the plate, and then surrounding it, kind of like a hummus platter is what I'm kind of thinking of. You've got grilled artichokes, pepperoni, which is stewed peppers with tomato, basil, and olive oil, roasted tomatoes, crispy sunchokes, and then the fire roasted garlic naan with balsamic and extra virgin olive oil around the plate. The sunchokes are thinly sliced artichokes that we get from a local farm. I think it's out west. They take them, they thinly slice them, and they put them all on sheet trays, and then it's baked by the Arizona sun. So it kind of dries them out, and we'll see there's another item in here that has that same kind of process from that farm. So storylines like that kind of help sell the dish a little bit more, the whipped goat cheese. Everybody can read that, but understanding that we get those sunchokes from a local farm and understanding that story makes it seem a little bit more exciting. And it kind of shows the members those little details that you remember. All right, the queso skillet dip is and the ranch platter is on the bar menu. And then our salads again. So that mixed green salad is that salad that's on the sides menu. So if they want a house salad or a side salad that's different than like the specialty salads, then that is this. So mixed green base with tomato, onion, cucumber, and then champagne vinaigrette is the default, or they can substitute for any of the below dressings. All right, we've got a wedge salad. The wedge salad is served as like a traditional wedge. So it's a single iceberg wedge with tomatoes, cucumbers, Newski bacon, red onions, and blue cheese dressing. They can always substitute the dressing for ranch if they want. They can take away the onions if they want. One really important thing to ask about this salad is to know if they want it tossed and chopped. So for the wedge, they have to use their butter knife sometimes, so we can just make it easier on them if they want, and then we can chop the salad and then toss it in the blue cheese dressing. All right, that Canyon Cobb we talked about. Can someone get the mixed green salad as a whole rather than a side? Yes, ma'am. Right now, I believe that the side mixed green salad just comes as the starter size, but if they wanted to do it as the entree, then no problem there. We just up that portion of it and then we'd charge accordingly with whatever Hannah, however she wants to charge for that. That was a good question. All right. The watermelon feta. So in the description, there's no mention of watermelon, but no, there's watermelon in there. There's going to be kind of like cubed watermelon with the feta, tomato, arugula, basil, mint, balsamic glaze, and blood orange olive oil, and then the crostino on top as a crumb. So crostini is like that crouton kind of long piece of bread that's toasted, and then the crostino is a lemon herb crumb. So just know the difference between those two. And then when you see things like this where it says like Crow's Feta, that's our product placement. So we want to make sure we're mentioning that, yep, Crow's is a dairy farm in Buckeye, Arizona, where we get our feta from. Just kind of makes that sense of home a little bit stronger. We could totally just get it from like California or wherever, but we get it as local as we can. So that's gonna be a nice, like easy breezy salad, light. The only protein, like you could do a protein on this, but it's not gonna be like kind of on the side and incorporated as well as the other proteins would for the other salads. So like the chicken breast or the trout would go well with the feta. It's just gonna come more on the side, versus like on top. Awesome. Cool. So in this new wave of health junkies we've got at the club, we've added some plant-based options. So the first one being the char grilled cauliflower steak. So they're gonna take a head of cauliflower and they're gonna cut like 6 ounces of it, so it looks like a steak. They're gonna cowboy rub it, which is an espresso chili rub. They're gonna sear that and kind of make it nice and tender and soft. And then you've got the piquillo puree on the base of the plate, the cowboy rubbed cauliflower steak, the corn salsa on top, and then the fingerling potatoes on the side, and then the chimichurri on the top as well. So as Hannah kind of plates, we're understanding that her purees are most often on the base of the plate, and the proteins on top of the puree, then the sauce is the garnish, and then sometimes you've got an additional garnish on top, and then the fingerling or like the sides will just be presented like around the protein, or in this instance, the cauliflower steak. So that piquillo puree is piquillo peppers, pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds, and Spanish spices. So if they have a nut allergy, we'll just remove those pepitas, or we'll remove the puree and we'll substitute something else. Your chimichurri will go on top, which a traditional chimichurri is your fine herbs or your soft herbs. So you've got parsley and cilantro, and then she'll spice it up a little bit by doing some red pepper flakes, extra virgin olive oil, red wine vinegar. A Sonoran corn salsa is pico with corn and lime. And then, yeah, and then your fingerling potatoes. We won't mention it tableside, but they do traditionally kind of look just like your finger. So a way to describe it to members is it's like, mm, it is, I don't even know, like a skinny oval potato. She's okay. All right, and then we've got some wine pairings underneath. The wine pairings won't appear on the menu, but you'll have them. I sent them all to you guys the other day, so you'll understand, like, it's always nice to say, can I bring out the Truchard Pinot Noir with that dish for you when it comes out, and just making that placement for them kind of entices them to get that glass of wine, or even if they don't want the Truchard, they can say, oh, no, but I'll take a look at the wine list. I'll have a glass of wine with dinner. All right, the spring nosh. So again, you got that piquillo puree on the base of the plate, and then it's going to be lined up. So you've got your asparagus, broccolini, purple barley, which is kind of like a grain. It is a grain. I'll show you. Yep, so it's just like a grain, kind of like a small rice. And then your butter beans on the side of well. So there's about 12 ounces of vegetables and barley and beans sat on top. So we've had members that will add like chicken or the trout to that dish just to kind of beef it up a little bit, but there's going to be enough vegetables where it feels just as filling. All right, for the pasta, we've got our seafood linguine. This one's been on the menu for a little bit. The members seem to have pretty good reviews about it. Is the barley we would omit for gluten free? I don't think barley has gluten. So yes, Amy, that is correct. Barley is not gluten free. So we would just remove the barley, which would be an easy substitute. We could even do like extra vegetables or more beans to kind of substitute that. Yep, extra vegetables. No, you're good. Extra vegetables or beans or whatnot. All right. So going back to that linguine, so it's going to be kind of a thicker, almost like a fettuccine noodle, almost maybe a little bit thinner, but like more dense. And then you're gonna have black mussels, manila clams, and black tiger shrimp. All of those amounts are located in parentheses. Those may change sometimes depending if they got shorted clams, and they may throw an extra mussel on there or whatnot. But for the most part, it's gonna be 8 ounces of protein total. And then that Chardonnay butter sauce will cover the pasta. It's a creamy, light sauce. Sometimes we have members say, I don't want like any cream, I just want like a lemon pan sauce. And Hannah has been flexible on that. So if you type into the modifier, substitute like a light pan sauce, a light citrus pan sauce, then Hannah can make that no problem. The Aleppo chili on top is for garnish. It is very mild in heat, but it's bright red in color. So that's kind of the point of that. And then we always serve it with a spoon and a side plate. That way they can discard their shells. And then the spoon kind of helps them eat that linguine. And then the Pinot Grigio pairs pretty well with that because it's nice and acidic and bright. All right. Mezzi rigatoni. So you've got rigatoni noodles on there with a where's the sauce on there? The kale pinon nut pesto. A pinon nut is a pine nut, so we can kind of save our tongues with that one a little bit. So it's a kale pine nut pesto with grilled artichokes, peas, onions, blistered tomatoes, toasted pine nuts, and then a lemon garlic crostino, and then pecorino cheese. So again, they can like avoid putting the onions on there if they don't want onions. They can add anything if they want. An enhancement for that dish would probably be chicken, shrimp, or trout, or the tenderloin. All of those proteins would pair pretty well with those dishes too. And then that gluten-free part is probably the crostino. There is dairy in the pesto as well as nuts. So if someone is dairy-free, we'd probably pivot and do a pan sauce with that, just because you can't have the pesto dairy-free. Lauren asked a good question in the chat. You should know the names of the wines. We have a variety of different Pinot Noirs. For example, we have four. So if you just say Pinot Noir, it gets a little bit confusing. I know it sounds intimidating to know all of the wines, but again, we sent you guys the first 2 pages of the By the Glass selection. So do your best to study those. We'll do a few tastings on those, but it is expected that you know those ones so that you can better say this one versus that one. And we'll understand that a little bit more as we start tasting. We've got some buttery Chardonnays that probably wouldn't go best with some dishes. And we've got some like nice, light, crispy whites that'll go better than the buttery Chardonnay. So as we get to taste them, it'll be a little bit easier. All right. So we've got our pan-seared grouper to start. All right, so that grouper is kind of, as we see here, a thinner white fillet. Doesn't have much color to it. Perfect. That's going to be served with a malt vinegar butter, that purple barley again, sugar snap peas, and baby carrots. So that is gluten-free optional. And if they want to substitute a different gluten-free side, then we can make that happen. And we'll go over those sides as well. But sugar snap peas and baby carrots will be sauteed together and paired on the side. And then that grouper is a white fish that's balanced with fat and flaky texture. As we taste them, we'll have a better understanding of what our perception is on their fishiness, for example. To me personally, grouper is not as fishy, but to someone else, it could be a little bit. So we'll have better descriptions of that at the menu tasting as you guys kind of get familiar with it. The soda crusted walleye. So this is the walleye fish. So it looks a little bit different than the grouper. It's a little bit more skinny fillets. They're gonna be freshwater fish, so they're not gonna have that super like salinic kind of salty taste to it. But it's gonna have that fried caper remoulade and then broccolini and fingerling potatoes served on that. The soda cracker crust is going to be saltines, panko, and herbs. It's a very traditional presentation for the walleye. The walleye is very like flaky. It's almost so flaky that when you put your fork in it, it kind of like just falls apart a little bit. So that's why we've served it with broccolini with a little bit more bite to it. And then that remoulade, all remoulades just like aioli are mayo based. And then this one has caper, lemon, relish, and cornichons in there too. Awesome. Okay. The steelhead trout, so it comes from the Columbia River. So this trout can live either in the saltwater or freshwater. This one is in the Columbia River. So it's similar to salmon. I have it on here. Perfect. So it has that almost identical appearance to salmon, that nice like pink internal color. It's going to be served with that sumac carrot puree, which they'll have carrots and then citrus, Mediterranean spices, and cream. They'll blend it together, they'll sift it, and it'll be this nice smooth puree on the base of the plate. Then they're going to take the trout, put that on the puree, have the cauliflower on the side, and then the huckleberry gastrique will be on top of the trout. And a gastrique is a sugar reduced with this instance huckleberry fruit and then vinegar. So nice and acidic and bright. And then Lauren, you see how this one says that this one's the Pinot Noir? This Nielsen Pinot Noir is a little bit more earthy versus this Pinot Noir up here, the Truchard. So they just have different flavor profiles. And that's why that one goes best with that trout. All right, so we've got 6 ounces of barbecue brisket burnt ends. So they're gonna take brisket, they're gonna dice it pretty into cubes almost. They're gonna braise them and then they're gonna cook them down. And then they're gonna cover them in barbecue sauce and then coat them and then put them on the flat top again. So they get kind of like nice and caramelized. And then the jicama slaw, those corn casserole little muffins, and then honey butter and charred rosemary oranges will be served with that. So that's kind of like your cowboy dish, I would say. And then yeah. Perfect. This one is paired with our Aussie's lager. So we worked closely with Dark Sky Brewing and we have their Mexican lager that they are helping us brand into the Aussie's lager. Aussie is our mascot. It's Aussie the Osprey. Because we've got a lot of kids on property. So Aussie the Osprey, that's his beer. So Aussie's lager. And that'll pair pretty well with that dish. Beautiful. If anyone's familiar with the Flying Chancla Mexican lager that we've been carrying, that will be the same beer. It's just rebranded as the Aussie's lager, but we're waiting to roll it out as Aussie's lager until we get all the branding finalized. All right, the pork schnitzel. So a schnitzel is a pork loin that's pounded out pretty thin. They're gonna dredge it in flour, egg, panko, herbs, and then they're gonna griddle that on the flat top. That's gonna be served with a German potato salad. That's different than a traditional potato salad in the fact that there's no mayo, but instead there's red wine vinegar, bacon, and white onion. It'll kind of help cut that like kind of heaviness of the dredged schnitzel. Then you got caraway braised cabbage. Caraway is a spiced seed that gives rye its flavor. So it's like it's gonna be cabbage that has that influence of rye to it. And then that lemon caper butter sauce on top, made with butter, caper, lemon, and white wine. All right. Our 8-ounce filet of beef au poivre. So au poivre is a creamy brandy peppercorn sauce. So that au poivre is literally just this sauce. So you've got an 8-ounce filet from Creekstone Farms. We always like to mention the product placement. So Creekstone Farms. Creekstone is in Kansas, and they've got this like elevated, kind of like this high class beef. These ranchers raise these Angus beef from like younglings, I want to say, and I can't remember where it says that exactly. But Creekstone's like a highly acclaimed ranch, so that's where we get that from. And then grilled asparagus, chive, mashed potatoes, and then watercress, which is like a spicy, almost like arugula as the garnish. And when we ask temperatures for this filet as well as the ribeye down below, we'll always make sure that we're asking for the range that looks like medium or well done, medium rare, and then rare. So sometimes the members will say, oh, I want it 135. Well, their temperature gauge at home on their grill is a lot different than ours in the kitchen. So we want to make sure we're as specific as possible and giving Hannah and the culinary team all the info that they need. So that even means if you have a picky person like Mr. Schneiderman, you're asking Mr. Schneiderman, what color are we looking for in the middle? Are we looking for a warm pink center? Are we looking for a hot pink center? And that'll kind of give you the difference. The more hot in color it is, then the closer to rare it will be versus like a cool pink, and that kind of thing. Cool. All right, this Ranch House ribeye has been on the menu for a little bit. So it's got a 14-ounce ribeye. It's going to come as a long ribeye, and then they'll cut it in half. So it's 2 smaller pieces on top of the piquillo puree, the Sonoran corn salsa, and the fingerling potatoes with that. Perfect. So Hannah uses a lot of repeat ingredients. So we're familiar with the piquillo puree and the Sonoran corn salsa and the fingerling potatoes. So just note that we can mix and match too. So if someone wanted to do the ribeye with the opwab sauce, they totally could. We can just substitute the proteins on everything, or whatnot. So if someone didn't want fingerling potatoes, they wanted to do the chive mashed potatoes on the ribeye, we can make that happen too. In the notes, you would just say no fingerlings, sub mashed or chive mash or whatnot. These are chive mashed potatoes, so we don't have potatoes that are not chived. They're all chived. Um, but it's not like too overpowering in that chive. So, all our a la carte options, Evan worked pretty hard on the Jonas page, so all of these should be in there. But if there's ever an instance where something's not on there, just let us know. But for the most part, they can do an a la carte chicken breast. A la carte means just by itself. So they could just do a single chicken breast. They could just do a single 6-ounce grouper. And then they can kind of build their own that way. And the sides are listed here on the side. They can mix and match literally anything. Everyone should have received their little check server book. All of those sides are in there. And if they're not, let me know and I'll make us new cheat sheets, but for the most part, they should be. Where was that broccolini? Okay, perfect. Note that these sides are pretty consistent. If we're ever out of anything, Hannah will do our best to let us know, but for the most part, like we can always um do those items from the brunch menu. Tegan said, from the brunch menu, does the Thai curry have a protein? If not, is there a recommended choice? With how heavy the curry is, I probably wouldn't recommend a fish, besides the shrimp. So chicken breast, tiger shrimp, tofu would be pretty good with that because the tofu would like kind of absorb all of that curry sauce. Sometimes the members for that the teriyaki bowl even would go less rice and more vegetables. I'm sure in that instance too, Tegan, we could totally just do less rice, more veg for that curry sauce too. Awesome. Any more questions on any of those menus before we talk about dessert? Is there a cross-contamination with the corn tortilla chips? Um, I do believe so, Miss Amy. Right now they're working on that cross-contamination, whether we're getting another fryer for that. But potentially yes. I do believe we're still making those corn tortillas in-house versus buying them, so I do think that there could be cross-contamination. All right, as you guys think of some, we'll kind of talk about the dessert menu and then we'll ask some more questions at the end too. All right, so dessert is available 11 a.m. to like 9 p.m. So my AM team, I really want us to try to sell some more desserts this season, especially for that bar menu too. To start on there, you've got a root beer tart, so a chocolate shortbread crust on the base, and then you're gonna have the root beer mousse and a rhubarb compote. So that compote is tart, but it's like a jam consistency for the rhubarb. And then that mousse is a fluffy, airy whipped cream with a root beer reduction. Evan knows a little bit more about these desserts than I do, but if I'm not mistaken, he can correct me. But that compote's gonna be, it's gonna go shortbread, compote, and then the mousse kind of piped on top of that. I love root beer, so I want to try that one. S'mores jar is next. So, Sierra made the marshmallow meringue the other day and it was like addictive. I could have eaten the whole thing. So it's gonna be kind of like a trifle almost. Like we'll explain it. So it's gonna have the marshmallow meringue on the bottom, then chocolate crumble, a graham cracker fudge, a peanut butter caramel, and then they're gonna layer it again. So it's gonna be super layered. That graham cracker fudge is condensed milk, graham cracker crumbs, and sugar. The caramel for the peanut butter is a ganache consistency, so not that like runny caramel, but a little bit thicker. And then that marshmallow meringue is tempered egg whites, sugar, and syrup. And then they kind of toast it. We won't do like flambe style table side. I wish, but we can't really do that. But that one will be really good too. That one I think would be an approachable kind of like brunch style dessert too. The lemon olive oil cake. So olive oil base is a very moist cake. It's going to have some vanilla flour, so it's going to have a nuttiness to it, and then strawberry crumble on top, and then a green tea gelato on the side. If someone wanted to sub out this gelato and do a different flavor, then they for sure could. And then I didn't write down those flavors either, but I will show them to you. And then we've got our butter cake as our most popular dessert option. So it's a St. Louis style butter cake. So it's a vanilla based cake that's ooey and gooey. And then you've got flake salt on that. And then you're going to have a vanilla bean gelato that'll sit on top of it. And then the Florentine is like a lace cookie. It's really light, almost like that Asiago crisp, but obviously not cheese. And that sits in a cast iron. And then the cookie skillet is just like a cookie skillet you've seen elsewhere. It comes in a skillet. It's a chocolate chip base and then a vanilla gelato on top. Perfect. Let me show you where those other gelatos are. Okay. So those other gelatos, and I'll write them here so we can all see too. It's gonna be green tea, stracciatella, which is like a vanilla base with small chocolate pieces in it. Sea salt caramel. The sea salt caramel is sea salt caramel, and then there's larger chocolate chunks on the inside that are so awesome. And then coffee chocolate chip. And then Madagascar vanilla. And then we also have our sorbet is going to be mango. So that one will be dairy free. Yeah. And then we can also do berries on the side. And then all of that will served with that pizzelle, and that pizzelle is like a Florentine style cookie too, which will just kind of sit on it. A pizzelle is more closely related to like if anybody's have like a stroopwafel, that's kind of like what that is, and that'll sit in the gelato. Let me see if I can look it up. Not showing exactly what I want, but that's the pizzelle, is that kind of lacy light cookie, and then it's gonna be like it's just gonna sit in the gelato, almost like the cone. Cool. And then we'll talk about our kids menu last. Let me see if I can pull up the Canva. So the kids menu doesn't change very often, which is nice. Cool. Can everyone see this kids menu? Okay. So the kids menu never really changes. So you've got 2 scrambled eggs, a Mickey Mouse pancake, which is just like the pancakes that we talked about, but instead of the crumble on top, we turn it into a Mickey Mouse style. So it just has the ears on it. And then you've got the sides as well. So 2 options for the breakfast. And then for the lunch is where it gets a little bit bigger. We've got chicken tenders, quesadillas, grilled cheese, just a chicken breast. We've got pasta. Please note on the pasta, oh God, that's too big. We've got Parmesan cheese and butter or Parmesan cheese and red sauce, or you can just omit the cheese altogether. So we've got kind of like four options: the Parmesan cheese and butter, just the butter, Parmesan cheese and red sauce, or just the red sauce. And then you've got mac and cheese, hot dogs, sliders, and then your sides. So the kids menu is pretty easy too. For kids, no one really orders on the kids menu if they're younger than 12. If it's like a prom night or like something where like the kids are truly too old to be ordering off the kids menu, that's when we kind of stop them. But for the most part, they're fine. And then kids can order off the adult menu as well. All right. That's pretty much it, guys, with the menu. I know we've kind of gone over it a few times. And then for our menu tasting on Sunday, hopefully it'll start to click a little bit more where we've like, oh, I know we remember talking about that. In the menu tasting, we'll focus on like what substitutes we can make or like what the flavor profiles is. Is it spicy? Is it sweet? Is it filling? Kind of like that. But I appreciate you guys kind of staying and learning and on this impromptu meeting as well. This is my cat. All right. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Yes,
Is the menu tasting on the 15th or on this Sunday?
on the 15th.
Okay, perfect.
Sunday is something else, I think. Well, no, the Sunday is Mother's Day, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Are you scheduled for something? Maybe I.
No, I was just wondering.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Pete.
Ashley, this is my cat.
Wait, I need to open it up. Oh, he's so cute.
He's been bugging me the whole time.
I know I've seen his tail go everywhere too. I love it. How do I get this? I want to take a photo. That way we can show flat what we kind of talked about. Does anyone else have any questions? Dustin, how do I see everybody? Brayden, I appreciate you coming again. Returner.
No worries. No worries.
Oh, perfect. All right. Ryan and Mina, thanks for coming. And Kyle. Okay. Take a small photo. Cheese. Have fun. All right. Well, as you guys know, like I'm always on my phone, so just text me if you have any other questions pop up, or we can always save them for the 15th as well. But as those get closer, Evan, you've been in the car this whole time. Jeez. All right, so if anything pops up, just let us know. Evan and I are always reachable. We're gonna start putting things into Jonas tomorrow actually. So as we kind of play with the computers, we'll get familiar with those. For my returners on Friday, I'll see you all in your dinner uniforms from 11 to 1. We're gonna do some mock service training, so we're gonna get some familiar with like ordering and how we put it into the computer, and then essays. We'll practice like bringing the items out to the table. So just give us a little grace. It'll be a little bit silly, but hopefully it'll start to click and then we'll be ready to go. We've already started picking up just a little bit for dinner services, so trainings will come pretty closely after that. Awesome. All right, guys, I appreciate you. I won't waste too much more of your time, and I will see you on Friday or throughout the week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks,
Evan,
Ashley.
where are you going?
Where am I going?
Yeah.
The driving range.
Okay.
Sick
Have
invite,
fun.
guys. Hey, Ryan, pull up.
It's out there somewhere.
Ryan, pull up. Well, I miss you, Car.
I miss you, Ashley.
Thanks for joining.
Absolutely.
Thanks for doing that, Ashley.
Oh, yeah.
You did great.
Love you guys. Bye.
Love you, Ash.
Bye.
Bye, Pete. Love you.